Last week I took my Trix deck to the OTS championship near me, and I wanted to present the deck and tell you how my games went. First, for the Trix monsters, I play 3 Mermedio, 3 Mantis, 3 Pudica, 2 Dionea, 1 Arachnocampa, 1 Vesticulo. I think those are pretty standard ratios. It is kind of a problem in this deck that you have very many normal summons and kind of brick on them sometimes. But I also think you have to take that risk because, for example, you can't really reduce the Mantis and the Mermedios because those are good openers. And the Pudica doesn't really suffer from the problem because you get the field spell with her, and the field spell allows you an additional normal summon. I maybe want to cut the Vesticulo for a second Arachnocampa, but I also really like the ability that Vesticulo doesn't lock you into plants and insects, so it's much better going second, breaking boards, you can make a Zeus. Then for the other cards I play for the engine, 1 Garden. Then for the trap holes, 3 Hodotea, which is just amazing to activate Serra on your first turn, and it can also be really versatile on your opponent's turn just to summon out a monster with Serra. Then I play a very heavy trap hole lineup with 2 Gravedigers. 2 of this because if you draw one, you have your chance of not drawing both is much lower than if you just play one, and then it's much easier to play through Nibiru's with your Rafflesia. And then 1 Banishing, 1 Floodgate, 1 Nightmare, and 1 Terrifying. Floodgate is like the most versatile, but the total star this tournament was the Banishing. So many decks can't handle when you just face down banish their normal summon. For example, I played 2 Salamangreat, and when you do that, they can't really follow that up, and it's really good. And those 2 are maybe cuttable. I'm thinking of either replacing them with other traps or just cutting them for more hand traps because they are way more conditional, especially this one. This one is really nice because you can negate effects and it's not on summon, which is also the main reason I play these 2, so that I can interact with my opponents from just their summons. Then for additional cards, 3 Paradelic Seeds, which is, to be honest, the best Trix monster in this deck, and 3 Pot of Prosperity. I really enjoy playing this, especially over Bardiche, the Phantom Knight Trap, because the Phantom Knight Trap only allows you to use your Serra more efficiently, but this gives you like a second line in your play, so you don't have just a straight line of play. You can summon this, and then your opponent either has to hand trap this or has to hand trap the Serra, and they can't just hand trap the Serra and you can't do nothing. Also, this allows you to go into Rafflesia very early with more awkward hands where you wouldn't be able to play around Nibiru. And this is just very important not to brick because all your combos are 2-card combos in this deck. Then for the hand trap lineup, a total of 11 hand traps in total, infinite impermanence. Very good in the format and also very nice for the deck because you need to draw traps to make your Hodotea live. 3 Ash Blossom just because it is the most generic one and I wanted to hit a wide variety of decks. To be honest, against the fire matchup I would consider siding this out to not make their heat alive. But otherwise, against so many not top tier decks, this can just be a turn ender. 3 Nibiru because after the ban of Baron and Savage Dragon, this card got so much better because you can dismantle whole boards and you have really hard time playing into enemy boards, so getting rid of them beforehand is really good. And to be honest, the best hand trap this tournament, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. The third one is in the side deck, but I would consider even playing 3 in the main next time, maybe cutting an Ash, because this is so nice against so many decks. Either you just Ghost Ogre their normal summon when you know it's a deck that can't follow up with it, or you can get rid of really good cards of your opponent, which is just so nice, especially with the lots of field spells and permanent spells running around at the moment. Then for the extra deck, free Sarah, I think you have to play 3. I wouldn't cut it down because the games where you go into 3 are so many. Sometimes you banish 1 with Prosperity if you go for 6, but even if I go for 6 with Prosperity, I often don't banish 1. 1 Oedipus for the OTK lines, if for your third turn to kill your opponent, because this just gives all of them 1000 attack. And really nice with all the Trap Trix extra deck monsters that they are unaffected by traps. The Lynx monsters, if they are Link summed, the Xyz monsters, if they have material. This fucks over so many decks, especially if your opponent holds an Imperm for Sarah because they don't know the deck. Then 1 Raphlesia, 1 Pingicludo, and 1 Alumaris, just very nice cards. I think 1 of each is more than enough. Then for the bit more generic ones, Time Fee Freedoer, which is really nice because you have an easy time making him with a trap, making him a very nice interaction with your opponent because he's a non-targeting, non-destroying removal that also can go after things like Field Space. 1 Zeus to clear boards, 1 Baguska if you can't break their board, 1 Abyss Trader against graveyard decks, 1 Cowboy for time, and then some cards that could probably be replaced with better cards. First of all, the best one of the replaceables is Underworld Goddess, because getting rid of towers is really hard in this game because you don't really have many high attack monsters. So if your opponent has a strong, hard to remove monster on the field already, you have a really hard time, and Underworld Goddess helps with that. And then for similar reasons, Utopia and Utopia the Lightning, just to have a 500 attack beater your opponent can't interact with. Also, your opponent can't kill you, can't use his Jubel against these cards. So the plan was, if I play against Jubel, to, for example, make a Sarah and this with my Xyz, so I don't give him an opponent to kill me easily, an opportunity to kill me easily. But to be honest, if you have the budget, just replace this with, for example, a Little Knight or a Typhon. Also, Exeton Knight is something I will try out in the future. Then for my hand traps, the overperformer here is clearly the Dimensional Shifter. In the matchups where you can use him, it just wins you the games. Free Vader, because it just hits so much, especially Snake Eyes, but also many other decks struggle against it. Free Droll, which didn't come up too much, but I play here because you have a lot of problems going second against combo decks, and this can really help against some decks that just can't play through it. And then one last one, the last Ghost Ogre. Then I played 2 Panker Tops. They didn't come up this tournament, but sometimes it's just nice for decks that go more for a mid-range style where you can break their boards with a Panker Tops alone. Maybe they have follow-up, but then you can first establish your board and then you're in a much better position for matchups like this. I really like Panker Tops. And then for going first, Free Judgment, just to be safe from Lightning Storms, evenly matched, and cards like that. Yeah, those are the decks. Then for my matchups, I overall went 5-2, which I think is really good for Trap Trix. Didn't expect to go that high. I got 12 plays out of 80 people, I think. The first match I completely got annihilated by Tempai. He destroyed me both rounds. I let him go second in the second game because I think I have a better possibility getting a board up which he can't deal with than breaking his board, even if it's just Heretic Seal, because then I will just have a worse board when it's his turn. But I got completely destroyed. First game he had Droplet and Lightning Storm. I couldn't really do anything against that. Second game he also just played better. The second matchup was against Purely. I also lost that 0-2 because I had really hard times deciding when to trap hold him. And in the second game I had a banishing trap hold on field and I didn't want to trap hold his normal summon. I'm not sure why. I think because I thought he had an extender, but then he summoned his Xyz with 1600 attack, and from there on it was just a downhill battle for me, so I also lost that. Next match was against Padio, which was a phenomenal matchup for me. First of all, his mills were very, very, very poor, and because all my extra deck monsters are immune to traps, he couldn't really do much against me. His Daruma Karma cannons were strong because of how they are worded. My monsters are not protected from them, but even though I just used Mermedio's special summon effect over and over to get rid of his back row and banish one Paleozoic at a time by destroying it with battle, and it was a clean 2-0 for me. Next match was against Sedimengrade. Also really nice game. Banishing Trapple carried me both games. First game I think I went second both games, but could hand trap him far enough that he couldn't set up a board. And then banishing Trap Hole on his normal summon was just game ending for him in his third turn. Next game I played against Sidesworn Runic. Also 2-0 for me. He went first both games, I think, but also suffered a lot through hand traps, and with his Sidesworn cards he only milled his Runics and didn't draw too many Runics, so he couldn't use Fountain that often, and if he used Fountain I could deny it with hand traps or destroy it with Mermedio beforehand. So it was really clean. Next game again against Sedimengrade, also 2-0, was a really nice game. Was very similar to the first round. He also made a mistake. He summoned like the level 4 Decode Talker main deck monster, which you can play, but he then used his effects for no reason because he already had the field spell. I Ghost Ogred it then and he couldn't play from there. And the last game was against Flu. Was a 2-1, and one of his losses was just a game loss he got from the judges because we got deck checked, and he had in his list, he wrote in his list instead of Harpy's Feather Duster a 4th Harpy's Feather Storm. Then he first of all had to remove the Harpy's Feather Dusters from his side deck, which was really in my favor, to be honest. And also he got the game loss. The other games were 1-1. First game he went first and he could control the game very good. Second game was a bit back and forth, but I could deal some damage in the early rounds. And then we went into time and I won because of that. So overall, 5-2 score. I'm really, really happy with that. 12th place, and yeah, I think especially for the budget this deck is at, it's really, really recommendable. I really like it.